just go ahead and assume that there are people here, and we'll go ahead and do this. So we want to thank everybody for being here.
Awesome.
And my name's Jen Robertson. I know some of you have met me, some of you haven't, but we are really excited to do this speech therapy training, and we're going to go ahead and introduce ourselves. Let me get my my screen share up so that you can see. Let's see. Getting this together. And all right, let's share this baby. All right. So we've got a welcome to Affordable Speech Therapy online training event.
There we go.
All right. And yeah, this is a Google Hangout, and that's new technology and really fun and interesting. This is going to, Google Hangouts actually records the event for us, and then we'll have a replay immediately after this, which is going to be really nice. We're going to send that link out. But if you have any problems with the sound or the audio in your for the training, then what you'll just want to do is refresh your browser, and it should fix anything that you might have, or any problems there. So, all right, so I'm just going to go over what we're going to cover. We're going to kind of introduce ourselves, and then we're going to go over the biggest myth in articulation therapy. We're going to go over some articulation therapy basics, also and a specific method that Marcus has developed called the speech pathway. And then we're going to go over 5 things that you can do to really help your child. And then after that, we're going to tell you about a project that we're working on and answer any questions that we might have. So, all right. So, we've got some people in here. Gonna have you introduce yourself. Let's see. Where are you from? And how many kids do you have? How long have you been in speech therapy? And just kind of your approach that you take to homeschooling. And we're just going to let you fill that in. Wait a little bit for responses. Okay. That's cool. I don't. Wow, this is lovely. Okay. All right, so we're just going to move on. Okay, so just introducing myself. My son, Josiah, had some pretty moderate to severe articulation issues as of September of last year. Basically, he was in the 1th percentile, or less than 1%, and 99% of the kids sounded more intelligible than him. I had some problems getting him some speech therapy. The first problem was actually with my husband. I don't know if any of you have ever experienced this, but my husband was not super interested in getting therapy and getting help. He had actually done speech therapy as a kid, all the way until the 8th grade, and it was pretty much just a miserable experience for him, and he really didn't want Josiah to have to go through that, and he was in denial for a while about whether he actually had a problem or not. So it made things difficult. Once we finally got to a point where he realized that he did need therapy, we decided to pursue the speech therapy for him in the public school system. And basically, when I was there, the school therapist just kind of told me that I didn't know what I was talking about, and she said that I needed to put Josiah just in Head Start because that was because a speech therapist came to the session and or speech therapist came to the school, and basically they had a therapist that would go there. And so she said that if I put Josiah in Head Start, then I would only have 3 children to deal with. And she didn't seem to understand the whole homeschooling mindset as to why I would want my children home with me. Since my 6-year-old was supposed to be in that elementary school, um, there was just this friction of, you know, why are you here? I asked if there was going to be any homework, and she said that she didn't do homework with 4-year-olds, and she wouldn't let me into the actual therapy session at all. And so um, I I realized that I simply could not work in that environment with somebody who didn't actually believe that I could do that I could do speech therapy, or that I believe that I could actually help my child. Um, the next problem that we had, so I came home from the meeting with the public school therapist, and I was not happy, to say the least. My husband kind of, he's like, okay, honey, we will figure something out. We'll do something, and you can just, you know, don't worry about it. We'll figure it out. But honestly, I was pretty upset. Um, I started looking online for different resources as far as what I could do for speech therapy myself, because I don't know if anybody else can identify with this, but speech is such a basic skill and such a baseline thing that it's very difficult to actually know how to teach. And if you don't know what actually goes into speech therapy, it can be as scary as teaching maybe a subject like chemistry or calculus for a homeschooler, because it's just, you don't know where to start. And so this is actually when I came across Marcus's website. And as I was going through his website, I realized, wow, this is somebody that actually believes in parents, and he actually likes working with parents, and he actually wants parents to do homework. I like this. I must work with this man. And so I was super excited. And then as I went over to his tab with the different services that he offered, he had $65 for a half hour of therapy. And I felt like I was kicked in the gut. Not because his time wasn't worth that, but because speech therapy 2 times a week times 4, it was like how much I was spending on groceries. And so there was a severe problem with finances with what I was doing. So before, I had been upset because I didn't see any real option and no one wanted to work with me. Then I was upset because I found someone that did want to work with me, but I just simply couldn't afford it. And so I'm just going to ask, have you ever felt so desperate in a situation that you did something just crazy? I'm not sure if anybody else has, but that's pretty much what I did. This is a copy of an email that I sent to Marcus, and basically I said, I can't pay you. I don't know I don't know what to do to help my son. I really want to help him, but I don't have that much money. And I, I, I offered my services as a photographer and videographer to kind of encapsulate his method. And I was hoping that he would use me as a test case because I needed something, and I didn't have any money to give him. So I I I know he's on the line right now, so he's probably feeling like super awkward. But like I don't know what was going through his brain at the time, but I was like, I must work with this guy, and I don't know what else to do. So thankfully, he actually called me back within an hour from getting this email, and let me tell you, he was just awesome. We set it up. We worked something out, and he started working with Josiah basically once a week, and basically after 8 months of therapy, Josiah no longer qualifies for speech therapy. We're going to post some links of Josiah's beginning speech sample and his ending speech sample under this video, so that you can see so that you have access and a real appreciation for what he was going through and what it looked like. But it was incredible, the difference that we saw. So after I saw how powerful his method was and how relatively easy it was to do, I was like, this is something that homeschoolers have got to have. We've got to get this out to other homeschoolers. So that's what all of this is all about, and it's really exciting. This is Marcus, and this is his video. I'm actually gonna bring it over just to. No, the timer did not beep, baby. Go lay down. Just so you guys know, we're recording this during rest time because this is about the only quiet time in my house. I know other moms can identify with this, and so we might get some interruptions from my kids. I'm hoping not. They generally stay down for rest time. So got a picture of Marcus here, but honestly, I think it's going to be a little bit less awkward if we just like actually talk face to face and see him, and then I'll pull my face in and you can see me too. It'll be less weird.
I need to go.
So.
I really need to go potty.
Okay, go potty. Oh, this is awesome. Okay, so Marcus.
How you doing, Jennifer?
Good. Maybe we should just like cut off the beginning of this and just start here, but I don't know. So we'll just see. So I guess Marcus, if you can just tell us a little bit about your therapy experience and what you've done and how you kind of came to work with homeschooling parents, or came to work with parents and wanted to work with parents.
Oh man. You gotta watch it because I can go on and on talking about what I do. Well, let's see. Well, first of all, I'm a Canadian speech language pathologist. I did do my graduate degree in the United States. I live right on the border, so I went to State University of New York in Fredonia and got my degree there. But ever since I graduated and started working, I've been working in the Canadian system, which is a little bit different. Like I work in the schools, but I'm not an employee of the schools. The funding for what I do comes from the Ministry of Health. It's so like I'm tied to healthcare dollars. So as a speech pathologist working in the schools, it's a little bit different of a scene because I do articulation, I do fluency, I do voice, but I don't do language. So I keep seeing this head poking out. I do, but I don't do language. And so it's funny, I'm a speech language pathologist that has never written a language goal in my paid profession. But what you get out of this is I'm in the unique situation of being really focused on articulation and looking at what's involved with that. I know what it's like to work on articulation outside of language. Okay. And that leads to a very different type of approach than I was taught in grad school when I was doing articulation therapy with language. Okay. So hopefully that's a bit about me. Like, should I talk about?
Just talk about the story that you told me about the kid that.
Okay. Yeah. In terms of like the speech pathway method, there's like a point of origin for it. If I look back at my graduate experience, I wasn't the type of speech pathologist that would be, staying up till 1 a.m. cutting and pasting and making all these crafts and toys and games and things that I was bringing to my therapy sessions. So just that wouldn't be authentic. That's not me. That's not who I am. So my speech therapy was a little. It was probably a little dry. It was focused on maximizing the time, and I wasn't. I'd use cue cards and props, but I didn't go all out to create this mini festival circus of fun and have the therapy sprinkled in on top. So right from the get-go, I really focused on maximizing the time I spent with the child and the repetitions. But when I was about 2 weeks into my into working, my newly minted speech pathologist on my first job, and I worked with this client who was a veteran of speech therapy. In the reports, he worked with maybe 2-3 other speech pathologists in the past. He's received many visits, and as such, I mean, he was a veteran. He really, he sounded really good. And in my first few sessions with him, I noticed he could say words nicely. He could do sentences. We could even talk back and forth, and he would use his R sound correctly. That's what we were focusing on. But I noticed when he went out in the hallway and he's talking with his friends, it was as if he hadn't received, one session of therapy. Because when he's talking, it's right back to his old pattern, and the R is incorrect. So it really puzzled me. And I just wrote a note to the parents, say, how great their child's doing, and he's really improving, and he's almost there. But yeah, if he's just talking like that at home, I'm in trouble, because the parents are going to think they're going to think I'm lying, or they're going to be wondering what I'm seeing. So the next time I worked with him, I really took a look at what was going on, and really, try to figure out what is happening. What I noticed is that when he would speak during the session, there would be pauses and emphasis present. So what he would do is he would say, I asked him, what did you do this weekend? Oh, I read a book. So there's this pause and there's this emphasis, What do you like to do for fun? I go running with my friends. Well, the pause and emphasis was very evident. And when I saw that, I realized he can only do his R sound accurately if he's thinking about it. Okay, if he's really focused on it, he can do it. But when he's not thinking about it, it's gone. Now here's the thing. Like when you speak or I speak, we don't think about what goes on in our mouth. It's an automatic process. And yet for this client I was working with, it wasn't an automatic process. He had to think about it. And when it was an automatic process, like he was out in the hallway with his friends talking, not thinking about it, it was wrong. So, I have this conundrum. How do I take this thing that he's thinking about and make it automatic? And the ironic thing about this is that when I look back on all the education that I did, the thing that frames the therapy that I do more than anything else, the hallmark of it, is automaticity. And it wasn't something I learned in the speech pathology part of my education. It was something I did in my undergrad course. I did an undergrad course in cognition that looked at this, and I had to write a paper on attention and automaticity. So, to make a long story short, I had to figure out how to make the speech sounds automatic for this client who was almost there. And to do it, I borrowed from music. When people learn music, when musicians are first starting out, they're doing musical scales, and they're developing the finger placement, the finger movement. The fingers need to know where to go without them thinking about it. And so I decided, how do I create this in the mouth? And that's how my speech pathway method was born. And it's really like it's a motor-based type of therapeutic approach that really lays down a strong foundation for the client so that they don't have to think about what the tongue is doing in order to say the sounds accurately. And if they are thinking about it, they are not there. There's still a ways to go before they're going to achieve the sound in conversation. So, in a nutshell, that was the genesis of the speech pathway method.
Awesome.
And it was very early on. And here I am 15 years later, and I am still constantly thinking about it. How can I evolve and tweak and develop this method so that it's easier for kids to use, that we can maximize the time that we spend in our sessions and that parents spend with their kids at home doing the homework.
Yeah, that was one of the big things that I really liked about what you were saying, was just how important it was for parents to be involved. And I think you've said something to the effect of that it's crazy to think that you can do more in 20 minutes of therapy than a parent can do all week. And so that really resonated with me, and I enjoyed when you said that. We do actually have people here. It's been confirmed.
It's been confirmed.
It's been confirmed. I got a comment in there, so we're excited. Just to let you know, there's a little bit of a lag between what we're saying as it's actually going on and when it gets broadcast. So that might be why there's a little bit of a slow time there. But yeah, we do have some people here, which is exciting.
Interesting.
Yes. Yes. All right. Okay. All right. So does anybody identify with anything in our stories? And if you do, if you could just put that in the question box or the chat box, we'd love to see that and see some of your answers. So yeah. We'll give you a little bit of time to do that. I wish I knew exactly how long the lag was.
What do you see on your end, Jennifer?
I see it flipping back and forth to me, but I'm not on video right now.
You're not on video right now, okay.
Oh.
But when I speak, it like my head pops up and...
Oh, yeah, you're talking.
Oh.
Yeah. Well, I took off my video because Abby needed help.
Yeah. I figured that.
You know, I'm so glad that it's a bunch of parents here. So, alrighty.
But really, you know, one of the conclusions I've come to is, you know, the biggest thing, like if you want your child to achieve speech sounds rapidly, the biggest thing they need is something a speech pathologist can never give them. And what that is that consistent daily practice. I mean, unless you have super deep pockets and you can hire someone every day of the week, it's not going to happen. And so getting your child to, you know, learning how to practice at home and optimize that practice time. So you can do like a little bit of speech therapy practice each day really makes a huge difference in your child picking up their speech sounds. Yeah, as Jennifer can attest to. And when we talk about like 5-minute sessions, nothing beyond 10 minutes. But the key is consistently doing it. And in those 5 minutes, like I teach parents how to really maximize the time so that they're getting a high number of repetitions, and the sessions are potent and a lot's being done in like a short period of time.
Okay, I think we're just going to go ahead and move on because I'm not sure how much of a lag is behind on the thing. But the next thing we're going to talk about is the biggest myth in articulation therapy. And Marcus, we'll go ahead and let you go into what the biggest myth is.
Well, the biggest myth, well, I don't know if it's the biggest, but I'll say it's something that's prevalently held by speech pathologists that, therapy has to be done in a meaningful context. And this goes back to like when I was in the American system, the speech and the language was done in the school by the speech pathologist, and now I'm divorced from it. I don't do the language. And I really find that when you start doing the therapy without the language, you approach it in a totally different way. Like, if you're doing it in a meaningful context, that means you're starting at word level. And the way I've learned to do it that really accelerates the progress of the child is to really develop a strong foundation. You got to be able to A, say the sound correctly, B, put that sound into syllables, C, expand it into double syllables, then and only then do you put it into words. But my graduate experience didn't teach that. They taught we're going to go right into words. And so you would start with thumb. You'd really drag out and emphasize that first sound. Now remember the problem I had with that client who was almost there, and I thought he was doing amazing work, but yet the pausing and the emphasis was the problem that we needed to address. So the way I was being taught in grad school was almost starting with the problem, okay? The way I'm teaching it is by the time we get to words, there won't be pausing, there won't be emphasis, and they'll be able to go rapidly with it. Because a key element of what we're doing is speed.
Yeah, I have a slide up that kind of shows generally what you would see in mainstream speech therapy with, you can see just the amount of drills that they do for like a sound level and then moving to a syllable level. And then if you can see most of it's in the word and sentence level. And that's really what you see a lot of in just the mainstream speech therapy there. This is kind of what the speech pathway looks like. As you can see, we do a lot of drills on the sound, syllable, double syllable level. And honestly, just from my experience with Marcus, I've seen maybe 10 or 15% total at the word level or above. So it does look drastically different than what you would see in a mainstream setting.
I had some clients early on that would just it would take forever for the sound to emerge into conversation. And what would happen is we'd work on sentences and we'd do conversation type of drill work, and it just would take forever. And what I was finding is that they didn't have a strong enough foundation to go quick, to say the sounds quick enough. And so for me, like, my favorite is the double syllables. I love them because it's really, that builds the speed of the production. And when you really think about it, if you take a step back and think about what goes on in your mouth when you're speaking, everything is occurring super fast, extremely fast. And the goal of speech therapy, as I approach it, is we have to take this target sound the child has to think about in order to make it accurate, and then we have to develop the speed, because it has to go quick enough to integrate with the other sounds that are going super fast. And if it can't, then what will happen is the automatic sound, the incorrect sound, will be the one that they will use. So speed is a key ingredient to accelerating the process.
Oh, cool.
Jeez, I went off on a tangent there.
Yes. So now we're just going to go to 5 things that you can do to help your child. And Marcus, if you just want to go over, you can see the slide there. If you just want to go over them, and this is all stuff that Marcus has taught me, and he's got 18 best tips document that is really, really cool. But I'll have to say these are my favorite, and these were the ones that I found that out of the 18, those 5 were the ones that really made a difference for us. So if you want to just go over them.
yeah, definitely daily consistent speech work is the key. I mean, I'll tell you this: when I'm working in the school system, and I work with a child once a week, and if they're not, if the rest of the time they're speaking with their incorrect pattern, guess what? It's going to take a lot longer for us to eliminate these speech patterns. I mean, when you work consistently and daily, it just exponentially adds to what the speech pathologist is doing, and it really accelerates the process. Um, Work where they're moderately successful, and this is this is key. And really, I as a rule, if a child is starting to get it wrong and they're struggling and you're correcting him, you find that you're correcting him, 2, 3 times, you got to stop. You got to back up. You have to reconnect with the accuracy. So it's really, I spend the bulk of my time, and this is the key to doing high repetition therapy. You have to focus on what they can do, that they can do, but you're doing it a little bit smoother, a little bit quicker, a little bit faster. So when there's lots of repetitions going on, but it's stuff that's easy for them to do. You're just pushing the speed a bit. If you get to a point where you're constantly correcting them, then there's problems. There's some kids that, you correct them, once, twice, and they curl up in a ball, and they're like, I can't do it. And that's what we're trying to avoid. If you shut a kid down, they're not going to work. They're not going to do their work, and they're just going to tune it out. Keep them in success, but really, start pushing the speed. And really, I think, look at that. It's not written here as part of the 5 things they can do, but I think it's kind of associated with this, is developing your child's ability to correct themselves. If they can hear the error, make a mistake, and then correct it without you having to come in and say, hey, wait a minute, what, and correct it for them, it's a much healthier situation. And that's one thing that drastically has changed in how I've done my speech therapy, is that I find I correct the kids a lot less, and I cultivate their ability to hear the mistakes themselves and correct it. Okay. Number 3, avoid correcting during normal speech. Yeah, this is probably something that intrinsically a parent would do. It just makes sense. If they can't say it right, then show them how to say it right. But if they can't say the sound correctly at the sound syllable level, double syllable, well, they're not going to be able to say it correctly in conversation. So you really want to just hold off on that, because once again, you're frustrating your child by doing that. You're probably frustrating yourself by doing that. And you're back to what I was saying in point number 2 about, really reducing the amount of correcting that's going on is key. It's critical. And especially if you ask them to do something they just can't do, it will really frustrate them. So don't do it. Number 4, obtain a speed, accuracy, balance. So this is, this kind of speaks to almost like the high level artistry of what we'll teach you is, what speed to practice at. The accuracy is always the first goal, but then we need to develop the speed. As I said earlier, speed is the key. Everything happens rapidly in the mouth, and so we have to take these therapy targets and make them happen quickly as well. And if they can't, they won't use it. So really, we have to find that zone of, you gotta see how quick you can push them before they start breaking down. And once you hit that ceiling where you start having errors, you just slow it down a little bit, reconnect with the accuracy, and then take another run at it. Push the speed again until you can feel the ceiling. And that's how you're going to push it. Okay, anyway. Number 5, keep working on it. Yes, consistent daily practice. Believe in your child's ability to get the sound, believe in yourself, and just stick with it.
Yeah.
And, the grit that you have as a parent in terms of, sticking with this really pays big dividends. And it's, I love working with the homeschool population because you're already of that mindset. You have to be working with your child consistently, or else it's just not going to work. So I'm sure that there's lots of muscles. Oh, there. Hi.
I need to go potty.
Go again.
There's lots of muscles that get developed as a homeschooling parent that you have at your disposal to do this.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So,
Back to you.
yes. Okay, so I guess what I'm just going to tell you about now, I hope that was helpful for you, is kind of what we're going to be doing in the next few weeks. Just to start out, I want to tell everybody we're not selling anything right now. We're not, this webinar is not a sales pitch. But I did want to kind of cast a vision for what we are looking at doing in the next 6 weeks and ultimately. As I was going through this and realizing just how awesome Marcus's material was, I saw how easy it was to really to transfer to other parents. And I know that I know that my experience with the public school system was not, that I'm not alone in that. I know that there are a lot of people. I know one mom has said that they said, you know, we can determine that your child needs to be in school if we decide that. And I know that homeschooling parents, I mean, if we knew, the only reason that we would be trying to outsource to another system is because we don't feel capable of it ourselves. We don't know where to start. And honestly, if someone would just give us the tools, we know our child best. We love them the most. We spend the most time with them. We're confident that we can actually teach our child the best out there. And so I wanted to really get a resource for parents to actually do their own therapy and do much more of, rather than the speech therapist doing all the therapy, really setting up something where the parent, go ahead.
For legal benefits, just let's say we're going to set up parents to do a super strong homework program.
Yes. Yes. Right. Parents are going to do an amazingly strong homework program that, because they're capable of it. And it's going to be therapy that's under the guidance and supervision of a therapist, but one that really believes in you and really knows that you can do it.
Yeah.
And so what we're going to be doing in the next 6 weeks is we're going to do an articulation therapy boot camp. And basically, Marcus is going to do an assessment for everybody involved in the camp, and he's going to pick your first sound. Pick which sound should be started with. And then we're going to go into the reviews. Obviously, we're going to get the technical issues worked out because they've been kind of awful. And so, but we're going to go in and really show you the steps for applying that pyramid that we did with the sounds, and we're going to show you what those drills look like and how to work through it. The boot camp is going to be 6 weeks long, and it's going to be 6 one-hour webinars where we really show you, and we're gonna take a lot of questions as well for there, and basically we're gonna give, the goal of the therapy is just to give parents that where to start and give them the confidence that they need to progress and go through there. And so what we're going to do, we're going to open up boot camp slots. We have 25 slots available for parents, and we're going to open up that boot camp on the on Saturday at 11 o'clock. And so the first 25 parents that come in will do that. Do we have anybody in the chat right now? and I'm not sure about the delay on that. So if you're here, can you just put a question in there and say I'm here, and we'll look to see. We really appreciate you coming to the live event and getting that out. And then basically we're gonna send out a little bit more. If you guys have any questions about the boot camp, we'd be happy to do that. Marcus, I had someone email me in a question.
Yep.
And her son does have apraxia.
Mm-hmm.
And he tends to substitute the oo sound with the e sound.
Mm-hmm.
So you would be ye during normal conversation.
Yeah.
But during the actual during actual therapy, he can make the sounds, and it's just not automatic.
It's not transferring. Yeah.
Right. I believe that there's also some consonant sounds and stuff.
Definitely.
How would your therapy work for that and equip them for that?
Well, for every sound, the child has to be able to produce it without thinking about it. Okay. In the end result is they have to be able to accurately produce that sound without fixating on it, without thinking about it. And it's that situation of the veteran of the speech therapy client they had right off the bat who could, do everything in the session. It's meaningless unless they can do it in conversation. So getting them to the next level is really about, setting up a practice routine to see if, we can get some movement on those speech sounds. Like, to me, the trickiest thing is being able to say the sound accurately to begin with. And really that's, like, with the exception of like some R's and S's, a lot of the sounds can be picked up pretty quickly. The matter of getting it from the sound level up into conversation is a function of work. You put the work in, that's what makes the difference. And from experience, I can say without a doubt, when I work with a motivated parent, when I work with somebody who's interested in, taking the material, learning how to put in a solid 5 minutes a day, is what we're asking for here. If you put in that 5 minutes a day, it's going to make a difference. And with the apraxic population, you start looking at the research for it. I mean, they look for high repetition therapy, which fits the bill beyond anything out there. But secondly, I mean, at 5 minutes a day, you can do it twice a day. You can do a little bit in the morning, a little bit at night, and it will make a difference. I find when I work with my clients during a session, and the sessions are longer than what I ask parents to do at home, but like when I do like half hour with a client, wow, I mean, you can notice this practice effect that occurs from the start of the session to the end of the session. Like, you can see how sound starts smoothing out. They start picking up and catching it. And, it's just a matter of doing the work consistently. Anyway, I hope that answers your question. I think, yes, it'll help. But you don't know until you try and you get in and you work with it. But it's been my experience that, like across the board, the practice that you put into it, the time that you put into it. Like, I mean, this is very focused, laser targeted practice, and there's a lot of repetitions that occur. That's what we're trying to develop in a way that we're not, it doesn't crush the child's will. I mean, we're doing it in a way where they're happy to do it. And
should I go get Josiah and let him do a few drills with you?
If you want.
Okay. Do we want to pick a sound that he already does good, or?
Well, I mean, the one we're working on right now is the R sound, and we're still working on consistent stimulability with that. So that's like his last sound. Like, what was the one we were working to prior to that? Was it TH?
TH, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'll go get him.
Okay.
Oh my gosh, that's hilarious. So Josiah's asleep.
Ah! There you go. Well, definitely.
Yeah. Well, this was our first webinar, and it's great. So, and there's Malachi. That's my 6-year-old. Yes.
Awesome.
So, I guess I didn't see any questions come through, and so we'll just wrap this up.
See this? Okay, no.
Yeah. We keep things super real here.
Yes.
It's a lifesaver. So, yeah, so I guess we're just going to enjoy. We're going to send out a replay link after all of this. And we'll be sending you some more information about the boot camp if you guys are interested in that. And I guess we'll go from there. Thank you, everyone, so much for coming and for listening to this thing. And I hope you guys have a great day. Thank you.